Let me unmute. It's 3 o'clock. I'd like to call a special meeting of the Atchison Board of County Commissioners to order. I'd like to have Eric say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. Any public comments? Hearing none, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Lori Orgy, County Health Nurse. Wes is missing on another project today.
Yes, he is. He is on another project, so it is me. I would assume that you guys have a copy of the new order.
I do.
Yes,
Did you have a chance to go through that at all?
I have.
Okay. There weren't a lot of changes from our 1.5. We went to 2 just because the governor did. The major changes are we can have self-service food and beverage. So salad bars, buffets, and other fountain drinks stations can be open now. What else was changed? Oh, in the fitness centers, they weren't allowed to have group classes, but now they can. If they are in groups of 15 or less, and they can maintain that 6-foot distance. And those were the biggest change. I mean, those were really the only changes. The mass gathering went from 10 to 15. So other than that, nothing changed from our last order.
Questions for Lori? It's certainly a big jump from 1.5 to 2.0, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big one. You know, there is something that I forgot that is a change from our last, and it is recreational sports, team sports, and team practices. As long as they maintain the social distance, those are allowed now as well. So I forgot to mention that one.
Are bars?
I'm sorry?
Are bars able to open?
Bars?
No.
No bars.
So there's no, restaurants can be open and sell alcohol, and bars cannot be open. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that is, that's per the governor order, that's her order as right now. So.
Lonnie, you have anything to add?
Lori went over kind of our changes. We're sitting at 18 cases since the start of this. The most recent case is hospitalized. So that's our probably biggest change on the medical front. So far, supply chain has been adequate, and PPE is adequate. That's about all I have.
Okay, Eric, Bill, you got any questions?
My questions would be, and I don't know if this is the proper place to do it, is future things. Is this meeting only to deal with the 2.0, Pat?
Yes, that was the only thing on the call.
Okay.
You could talk about something else, but you couldn't take action on something else.
Oh, well, it wouldn't be actionable, but, going forward, there's the fear of having, going too fast and having more cases, and you hear of this, well, we might have to go back into a lockdown. Well, I don't see where, I think if we ever had to go into another lockdown, I think that would just send everything into a tailspin economically. So my question is, where does the financial modeling come from when we are looking at orders for our county? I mean, this is, I'm not trying to cut down what they're doing here, but going forward, this is from a healthcare standard viewpoint only. And I see it's happening at the state level also, where there is some of the senators are talking about filing suit against the governor, because the governor is, once the initial order has expired and she continued on doing orders, whether that was even constitutional at that level, that she was exceeding her authority. Now, what I know that doesn't quite work at our level, but I hear a growing murmur from the residents that a lockdown order coming from one place without business input, economic modeling, is, I'm trying to think of the right word here, pretty frightening for some people. And, you know, if there's talk about in the future of another lockdown, I think we're gonna have a problem. And I was just wondering how we could address that, or if there's any way we could address it.
So the question is,
For the future, I mean, how could we incorporate the economic circumstances into into the order of a shutdown? I mean, it's only from the public health standpoint only, and I'm not demeaning them, because they're doing absolutely everything that they are asked of. But this is it's the way it's set up. I mean, I don't think that they ever anticipated having orders of this magnitude, and there's a whole segment of the community that's not even asked their opinion as far as what a lockdown would do. So,
Eric, right comment? I mean, the governor does have the authority according to the Constitution. So either the courts would have to remove that authority from her, or she would have to be recalled or not voted in the next election. But as individuals in a county government, we are bound to follow the governor's orders. And we can make them more stringent, and we can't make them less stringent. And I understand there's all of a sudden there's a lot of opinions, and a lot of people don't want this to be open as much. Some people think we should just open the whole thing up. So there's lots of different opinions. And that's where the politics starts coming in.
and that's where my question is if maybe our county would have an explosion of maybe 10 more cases, and we would decide as a county, well, I would say that's not even as a county, because the commissioners don't act on this, but it would be decided that we would have to have another shutdown. Well, it would only be decided from the healthcare viewpoint only. And I think and I don't know how we would have to change the formula of how these things are done. But I mean, it seems to me like there was a huge segment that's been left out of the loop.
Which segment is that, Eric?
Everybody that's got a business that is affected and they want to open up. And I think that we've seen it in some of the restaurants that wanted to open up, and here we'd have another shutdown. The the shutdown was only to flatten the curve. It wasn't to stop and put an end to it. So if it would happen again, well, we'd already flattened the curve once. I don't think we're going to do it again.
Well, hopefully we don't have to do it again. Right?
Yeah, I hope it don't happen. But that's what I was looking forward. That's the reason I asked if this was even the venue to talk about it, because I thought was only going to, maybe only could talk about what's going on with the 2.0.
But if we're going to build a road, we don't check with everybody who's going to drive on that road to see what their opinion is. We are elected to make those decisions.
But we are not making those decisions, Jack.
What?
You and I, Bill, are not making those decisions, are we?
I'm talking about, you asked who make those decisions. And I'm not sure. I guess I have to go to our county councilor and ask what his thoughts are.
Well, the Kansas Emergency Management Act, it contemplates that there are situations that the legislative branch might not have considered, and that quick action is necessary or may be necessary. And the philosophical discussion is a good one and an interesting one. And I think the answer that you might get from the public health people is probably different if you're talking about an explosion of 10 cases, like you said, or if we had 1,000 cases that came up in Atchison County in the next week. And I don't think it is probably a very good exercise to try to figure out exactly where that dividing line is, but they'll need to react to what the medical evidence is, the public health evidence is, and the situation is at that time. And that, frankly, I applaud Lori for getting out here pretty quickly to relax some of the things that were contained in our order, because the governor made the change so that they would be applicable over the holiday weekend, and she got out in front of it to speed up our process here based upon a change in circumstances. Frankly, I trust her to make a good decision, and the decision making that she's shown so far, I think, has been sound. But there's always the hypothetical concern that in the future a person might not agree with an order that is made by the local health officer. But I think we kind of have to wait and see if that happens, how to respond. And it would really depend a lot on what the order was. So it's a philosophical discussion, which I don't really think has much to do with this last administrative order or the emergency order of the local health officer.
Well, and that's the reason I asked if it was appropriate to talk about it now, or if it should have been done in a regular commission meeting. And again, I said it's not to demean what they're doing. They are doing absolutely everything that's being asked of them, and that's basically in their job description. But I'm wondering if there was something left out for business people, economic forecasting or anything like that is not even considered in the order. So that's all I have.
Okay. Anybody from the health department want to comment? Okay, I don't see anybody who wants to comment.
Jack, I would just say a couple things just to try to put your all minds at ease. Part of the reason we bring these things to you guys is to give you an opportunity to give us input from your perspective. And that, I think that's important to hear. We do recognize this is your county, and that you have that pull to help make sure that the economics are good as well. You're right, it is a very difficult balance to strike between the economics and the healthcare. I think there are times when the safety of our the members of our communities and our county trumps a little bit of the economic, and I think that may have been what prompted the shutdown in places. And then it's a matter of releasing that to a safe measure, not too quickly, but quickly enough. So I know that the governor has been able to have some of that financial input because she has a lot more resources than we do on a state level. We tried to consider it. By no means has our intention ever been to affect someone's business or the ability to keep their business open. However, we don't have the resources to have, like you're talking about, those financial models and things. But we do our best just in our educated minds to take into consideration anything that we can. And I think if you guys ever had specific input you wanted to give us as the county commission, as a group that looks at these recommendations and puts this together, yeah, Lori's name is on it, but we've said all along, it's the three of us talking. Anytime the governor sends something out, you should see the emails and text messages that go back and forth between the three of us, trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. So we would, if you guys get a copy of this and you have questions or concerns about something, as long as it is with the governor's minimum standard, I think you can express those to us, and then we add that to the information we're already using to determine the best order that we can put forth for our community. Because you're right, Atchison County is not the same as Johnson County or my home county of Rooks County out in western Kansas. They're all going to be a little different. And so the governor's setting forth a minimum standard, and we're having to do our best to adjust from there. And she has said that every step of the way. As far as the legal process, I mean, that's above all of us here, and how that's determined. I know some counties, the county commission does have final say. The way our system in our region is set up, it is not. I know that you're familiar with that. And so I guess I don't want, as part of this group, for you guys to feel like you don't have a voice to us. And that's, I guess, the point of what I'm trying to say.
I feel like I've communicated with you guys some of the concerns that I might have, or some of the things I have to do. The one thing I wanted to is say, I'm so glad you guys are doing it, because it's a lot of detail, and it's a lot of work. And Wesley and Bonnie and Lori, I mean, I realize that you have to face a lot of challenges with public opinion, but boy, you guys done a great job for us. And I really appreciate it. So moving right along, I leave some time for public comment for a non-agenda item, for non-agenda items. Hearing none, I think I'm going to call for adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Eric can second it. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. Hopefully I don't see you guys before Tuesday. Okay. Have a good weekend.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Hey,